It's been over 4.5 years since the last time the San Antonio Spurs won the NBA title. A lot has changed since then. After San Antonio's dominance from the late 90s throughout the 2000s, until pretty much after 2017, they're no longer an elite team, but will still be in the playoff hunt because of Coach Pop. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Golden State's the only team in the Western Conference who's made the finals each of the last 4 seasons, being the best in the West throughout the mid-2010s, perhaps going into the 2020s. The Spurs dynasty will always be remembered, with Duncan and Pop being one of the most successful player-coach duos in NBA history, winning 5 titles together. The 2014 championship run was unlike any other. With the big three of Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili at the tail ends of their careers, the team relied on plenty of international players, a total of 10 guys on the roster born overseas entering the season, an NBA record at the time. But a lot has changed over the last 4.5 years. Patty Mills and Marco Bellinelli are the only active Spurs player from that title team who's still with the franchise in 2019. Marco being bounced around for 4 different teams before coming back with San Antonio in the summer of 2018, while Coach Pop and his 2 assistants, Chip Engelland and Ime Udoka, are still part of the staff. Let's start off with the greatest power forward all time, Tim Duncan. At 38 years old, was still a very good player, averaged a solid 15.4 points, 10 rebounds those finals, even had a stellar year the following season, putting up 14 and 9, averaged 18 and 11 in the playoffs against the Clippers in 2015, before retiring the following season as his skills declined. Very low-key and private, Duncan still very active with the organization, can be seen in a few practices, working out with the young big men on the team, sometimes taking them to school on the post. He also attends a couple Spurs games here and there. After retirement, Duncan also kept himself active by training in MMA and is apparently an absolute monster in kickboxing. Manu Ginobili, who announced his retirement in the summer of 2018, will have his jersey retirement ceremony set to take place on March 28, 2019, where the Spurs will host the Cavs. Now at age 41, Manu seems to be enjoying retirement. Tony Parker, who's the backup point guard for the Charlotte Hornets, after spending his first 17 seasons with San Antonio, at 37 years old and way past his prime, Parker still has a little basketball left, averaging 9.4 points, 3.8 assists in his first 37 games with the Hornets, has 4 20-plus point performances midway through the 2019 season. Kawhi Leonard, the former Finals MVP winner in 2014, seemed destined to become the next superstar in San Antonio after the Duncan era, but things just didn't work out. As the situation got ugly, Leonard showed displeasure against the franchise. After only playing 9 games due to injury last season, is now a top 5 MVP candidate with the Toronto Raptors, having a career year at the early prime of his career, averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds. As a top 2 player in the Eastern Conference and the best two-way player in the league, there is no doubt the Spurs would still be contenders if Leonard was still on the team. Former Spurs shooting guard Danny Green, a current teammate of Leonard who was also part of the trade in exchange for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected first-round pick, now at 31 years old as the starting shooting guard for the Raptors, Green's still a very solid player, averaging 9.5 points, shooting over 41% from 3 as a solid veteran. Boris Diaw, who was actually the assist leader of the 2014 finals, played a huge role coming off the bench as the backup power forward, spent 4.5 seasons at the Alamo, last played for the Utah Jazz in 2017 before announcing his decision to return home in France, played for the Levallois Metropolitans before officially announcing his retirement from basketball on September 6, 2018, now works for the French Basketball Federation as a part-time gig, recently spent last December at sea sailing across the Atlantic. As part of the series See the World, seems to be at peace, enjoying his adventures and journeys, experiencing all the interesting things life has to offer. Tiago Splitter, the Brazilian native, last played with the 76ers during the 2016-17 season, spent 5 seasons in San Antonio, averaged over 8.6 rebounds as the starting center for the champion Spurs, was traded to the Hawks in the summer of 2015 to create cap space for LaMarcus Aldridge, announced his basketball retirement on February 19, 2018, now works as a pro scout for the Brooklyn Nets under GM Sean Marks, who was an assistant coach at the time the Spurs won the 2014 title. Aron Baynes, Many forgot the New Zealand native was also on the Spurs roster, went undrafted before being picked up by San Antonio in January of 2013, played only 9 minutes a game, averaged 3 points for the 2014 Spurs, played 3 years under Coach Pop, spent 2 seasons with the Pistons afterwards before landing with the Celtics as a very solid role player who's known for his energy and dirty work. Austin Daye, who finished out the season with the Spurs, played just 1 playoff game, a total 6 minutes, was one of the last guys off the bench. Since then, played overseas in Italy, Bahrain, Turkey, and Jerusalem, won the FIBA Cup in 2018, still remains with the Rea Venezia basketball club in Italy. Corey Joseph spent his first 4 seasons with the Spurs, served as a backup 2 guard, averaging 5 points as a 22-year-old in 2014, also spent 2 seasons in Toronto, and now in his 2nd season with Indiana as a 27-year-old backup point guard in his 8th NBA season. Jeff Ayres, another bench player who was 27 years old at the time, was a 6'9" power forward, played 73 games, averaged 3.3 points, 3.5 rebounds for the 2014 Spurs, last played in the NBA for the Clippers in 2016, also played in Russia, Turkey, and now currently in Japan. Matt Bonner, who announced his retirement on January 6, 2017, was at the back end of his career, came off the bench, averaged 3.2 points in 2014. Since retirement, Bonner's part of the Spurs TV broadcast as a studio analyst. 13 of those players suited up in the 2014 finals, where they crushed the Miami Heat in an easy 5-game series, winning by a combined 70-point margin after losing in devastating fashion to the same Heat team the year before. One of the most impressive and underrated finals performances from any team the NBA has ever seen. Other players who were with the team that season but didn't get a chance to stick around till the end: Nando De Colo, who's now playing overseas in Russia; Damion James, who was inactive during the playoffs, now playing in Puerto Rico. Shannon Brown signed 2 10-day contracts with the team in February that season, last played with the Delaware 87ers G League team last season. Othyus Jeffers played on 1 10-day contract, appeared in 4 games, ending his NBA career afterwards, last played pro ball in 2016 in the Philippines. And Malcolm Thomas, who played 1 game for the Spurs that season, appeared in 40 total NBA games for his career on 5 different teams, now overseas in Russia. Who can forget Jim Boylan, who was an assistant under Pop until 2015, just signed a contract extension through 2020 as head coach of the dysfunctional Bulls; and Chad Forcier, who's now an assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies. Crazy to imagine it was almost 5 years ago since the 2013-14 San Antonio Spurs won the title. A lot has happened since. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that will interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe for more content, more great stuff coming soon. See you next time.